Wednesday week.
I just love the drama.
Biggest U-turn since winter fuel allowance. Cut that because loose lips sink ships.
And what the fans want is to stop teams being owned by madmen.
Listen, you're really making a mess here. You're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. We're getting really cross with you.
The sticky patch came when the rest of the team's sticky patch came, which was sort of January onwards.
Grumble, boobs joke, hot ones.
No, let me tell you, I don't have to look at this objectively at all.
The Wednesday week!
Put on your podcast!
Hello, good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Wednesday week. This weekend, we are taking on or welcoming the Hollywood superstars in Wrexham to Hillsborough, and talking that up, we've got Rich Fay from Rod Ryan Red Podcast in. Rich, welcome to the show. You all right, pal?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you very much, especially after what happened at the weekend for us.
Yeah, it's been an absolute change of dynamic, you know, because you and I spoke a couple of months ago, and I was giving you a bit of needle about whether Phil Parkinson was up for the job, and you robustly corrected me and said, "Well, hang on a minute. In terms of the change in financial fortunes that Wrexham have had, Phil Parkinson has been the best signing that we've had." And what do you refer to him? Just an angry man from Chorley who's not suckered in by the entire BS that kind of can surround Wrexham. So, you know, I'm going to give you a couple of minutes soapbox to talk to me about and educate some of our fans who might not be aware on what Phil Parkinson's actually done for Wrexham.
Yeah, so exactly like you said. I mean, when people look at Wrexham's rise, it's very easy to say, well, they spent the money. And I would always say, yeah, that's definitely a factor. We can never, ever ignore the fact that we've had money to spend. But look across all the leagues. Look at what happens in the Premier League. Look what's happened in the Championship in previous years. It's about spending it properly. And Phil Parkinson is the sort of puppet master behind all of that. Instead of buying players who are just mercenaries looking for a big payday and who just wanted to be mates with Rob and Ryan, he signed hard-working players who fundamentally wanted to progress their careers and who wanted to go up the leagues with Wrexham. And we will never, ever be able to escape the money side of things. You know, that is something that is going to be hinged against us. But what we've done is spent it properly and correctly. We've signed players who can go on the journey with us. It hasn't just been, I know there's been an element of short-termism, particularly this season with maybe players we've signed, but ever since the National League, it has been sustainable in the fact that we were spending a lot of money then, but players who would go up the leagues with us. And we've seen that across the way. I'd also say that for all the outrage we get on money, arguably our best player during the entire takeover process has been Max Cleworth, who's an academy player who was at the club before Hollywood arrived, and he has been integral. He's been nurtured very, very well. But yeah, Parky has just stuck to his guns. He's stuck to what he knows best, really. And again, he's made unpopular decisions. He's got rid of key names and star names from the documentary, the ones who are mates with Rob and Ryan. He's axed them when he's needed to, because fundamentally, whether you like his style of football or not, Phil Parkinson's job is to win football matches every single week. And that is what he does. He makes unpopular decisions. He plays football that he knows is effective, that suits his team's style of play. And from the outside, people might not like it, but ultimately it works. The track record works. And there was so much disrespect to him when we came to the Championship because people pointed at all of his other jobs in the second tier. And he had no money then. And he was at clubs where he didn't have autonomy or control. And so much about a manager's success is down to their relationship with the board, with the hierarchy, with the trust that they have. And at Wrexham, he's given that freedom. He's given that authority, that power to buy the players he wants, to play the football he wants. And they just believe that, you know, he deserves a chance to prove himself. And this season, he was always going to get that chance because he's earned it. And right now, we are reaping the rewards. And I absolutely love it.
I like the way I love that you're, and I can't say this on Talksport, but I love the way you're sending a big fuck you. I enjoy that, mate. That's quite fun for me. Listen, it's I feel like there was a point at the start of the season when we spoke in the past where there was I hate this term, but there was an element of the new signings and the team gelling, as it were, in terms of getting used to the pace of Championship football and things to that effect. January has been a very fruitful time for Wrexham in terms of results on the pitch. I think the only loss you took in January across the cup and the league was one against Norwich, who are also going through their own resurgence. I've in a quite a large group chat stuck my colours to the mast with Norwich and said they'll be pushing for playoffs by the end of the season. Looking at the way that the league's panning out, that might be a big ask, but there's still plenty of football to be played. And I also feel that Sheffield United feel that they're going to be knocking on the door of the playoffs as well, given the way that their season's panning out, because they've both changed their manager. Teams such as Preston, Stoke, they've fallen away. And I feel like they're going to have one of their usual generic mid-table seasons that they have. But a team that you're chasing right now is Millwall, and they seem to have been heavily tipped the last couple of seasons to do something and move forward and get up the league. I don't know what it is that they've done to get this type of kudos. I don't suppose you know, do you? Like, where all of a sudden has it come from? Why is everybody loving Millwall right now?
I think from Millwall's perspective, is it not just they've been kind of consistent there or thereabouts? Again, you mentioned their managerial changes and stuff. I feel like Millwall maybe have a bit of stability that other clubs have lacked this season. I also feel that then, as well as Millwall having these ambitions to get to the Premier League, they probably don't have the same pressure on themselves to actually go and do it like most of the other teams in the division do. There are 12, 14 teams in the division where if you don't get playoffs, it is a disastrous season. I think for Millwall's perspective,
arguably there's more pressure on Wrexham than there is Millwall to get playoffs.
You'd say so externally, certainly. And I think from a Wrexham perspective, you wouldn't necessarily say that. But from Millwall's point of view, it's kind of seen as a bonus if they can do that. And from the outside, people wouldn't expect them to do it. I think they recruited well in the summer. They signed that striker who had a lot of sort of hope and pedigree behind him. So, yeah, but hey, Wrexham beat them beat them away early in the season, so maybe we shouldn't fear them at all.
Get the needle in, Rich. I absolutely love it. So let's talk about the away day at Queen's Park Rangers. Queen's Park Rangers, QPR, Loftus Road. The Matrade Stadium can be a difficult place to go if you don't play the right football. Now, we used to get, last season before all of our players left, we used to get results at QPR. And the reason being is we had some big, and I'm a big fan of this, big shit kickers that used to play shit kicker football. And, like people like who's now at Preston, Michael Smith and Callum Patterson, who got a hat-trick at the weekend. They are great on small pitches like QPR, because it's blood, sweat, tears, elbows, piss and shit that they're absolutely fighting around. To go there and try and play expansive football and quick-pace football and tick-a-tacker isn't the way to go when it comes to playing QPR away. Did you feel that watching that game that there was a change in the way you played? Did Parky pick up on it and go, this ain't working, and then flood it forward, or do you feel like you stuck to your guns a little bit?
It was difficult to say because honestly, first half of football was the worst we've played this season. I'd say we were terrible. We were crap. We were so out of it. I actually don't think QPR were that good themselves. We were just atrocious. Like, we were dreadful. Nothing was sticking. Couldn't get passes together. I don't think we had a shot until any shot until the 53rd minute of any kind. Wow. So it was just about sticking in there and hanging in there. And I think what Wrexham have done all season, regardless of opposition, is we hang in games. We don't get swept aside. We don't get brushed aside. We've not had a heavy defeat yet. I think the biggest defeat was against QPR at home, 3-1. But that was a game we were chasing and we were trying to get a goal at the end. They snuck another on the break. So we are in every single game. Loftus Road pitch is the worst in the league by a mile. It is horrible. It's attritional. And
the away end. That stadium is bloody awful as well. That away and that concourse, I hate it.
As a Wrexham fan, I don't think you can complain about championship facilities. You know what I mean? We've been to some absolute tips over the past few years, but we've loved it and we've loved the charm of that in the National League. So we don't ever want to get too carried away and say, hey, this isn't fancy enough for us. It needs a lick of paint or whatever, because we're in the championship and that is still surreal for us. Like, if the season finished now, be our best ever finish in 161, 162 years. So we're not getting too carried away in that regard. But yeah, I just feel it's the type of game that suited us. I think away from home, we can go long. We can go very quick on the transitions. We've got Kiefer Moore up top. Everything sticks to him. Phil, as you mentioned there, Phil Parky tried to sign Michael Smith twice and it couldn't get him.
Yeah.
In the end, we ended up with Kiefer Moore, and he's just perfect. If Phil Parkinson could build a footballer in the lab, it wouldn't be Erling Haaland, it'd be Kiefer Moore. That is what you want, just this guy up top who does all this ugly stuff. He's a facilitator for the other players. And we've just got this grit and determination. And I know you mentioned at the start that you don't really like this kind of term that the first few months of a season, teams are gelling, they're finding out, all that sort of crap.
But it is
very easy. Yeah, when you're not playing well, it's very easy as an excuse to fall back on, isn't it? To say, why aren't things working? But I do think, in the summer, we signed 11 players. And hypothetically, our strongest lineup was 11 new players. And what they hadn't done is, although Wrexham as a football club had 3 successive promotions, none of those players had been involved in any of them. None of those players had won a game at the racecourse in the last minutes. None of them had an away day where we just grind a result out and get over the line in the last-ditch circumstance like we did at QPR. But they've all done that now. And I do feel that the team is just starting to believe they've got clear buy-in to Phil Parkinson, and we've kind of just got that togetherness that the other promotion teams had. And, we're looking at the table now, we're getting a bit giddy because the table's so congested, it's very easy to sort of sensationalise where you are. One win can put you 6th. I think in the 92nd minute on Saturday, we were 12th in the table. By the 94th minute, we were 6th. So
that's it.
The mood can change so quickly. In 90 seconds, it did for us. It flipped, complete reverse. And if we were doing this podcast and Wrexham were 12th, it'd be doom and gloom. You've bottled it. Why aren't you going for the playoffs? Is Parky the man to take you forward? And suddenly it's saying, well, why can't Wrexham get 4 in a row?
Can you see my notes? Is that what... I agree. I mean, literally this time last year, believe it or not, Sheffield Wednesday was sat there going, hey, we're only 3 points off playoffs. We might be able to make a push for this. And look where we've gone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Ironically, had we made playoffs and by some hook and crook managed to get promoted, the chairman would still be in situ, financially mismanaging us. So, you know what I mean? It's kind of, it was a blessing in disguise that we fell away. Obviously, I've got to talk about, Michael Smith to start with. So, Michael Smith, you made a 300k bid for last January, this time last year, and we turned that down because the chairman kept moving the goalposts in how much he was worth and how much he cost. That ended up being one of the nails in his coffin. But obviously I've got to talk about, and you're dead right, by the way, he is very much a Phil Parkinson player. He could start a fight in a phone box, can Michael Smith. He's absolutely banging at that type of thing. But we've got to talk about Josh Windas. Was there much made from your fans about the fact his lack of celebration when he leveled it up in the 93rd minute?
It's not so much because it's been masked by the fact we went and scored another, 30 seconds later and went and won the game. But it's something that's been sort of going around in group chats this week and stuff and just saying, where does he actually fit? There was kind of a period, I think, in sort of November or December time where there were links with him going up to the SPL, going to play for Rangers, I think. And people were saying, would you let Josh Windas go? Obviously, we got him on a free, in not nice circumstances to get any player, of course, the way we did. But would you cash in on him now? And is he good enough to be a Wrexham player? I think he just needs an arm around the shoulder and some love because, again, we have had so many fan favourites over the years that to become a Wrexham fan favourite now, you've got to do a lot. And Windas has tried really hard. He's been in and out of the team. He's got really decent output as well, considering the minutes he's had. He's been frustrating to watch because we all know he's capable of so much more and he's not always been able to deliver it. He's also maybe just not suited to our style of play exactly because we've been playing 2 number 10s behind a striker, really, in this box midfield. And maybe he'd be better as just the attacking midfielder behind 1 striker. So he may be suffering from the formation a little bit. But yeah, I don't think we're too worried about his lack of celebration. The fact they put in the net in the first place is all that matters, really, for us. And yeah, I think for Windas, he just needs to feel the love of the Wrexham fans. But it is there. We just maybe haven't given it to him as much as he wants or needs.
A lot of what you're saying sounds really familiar. I always felt that Josh Windas would be unplayable on some days, like straight up lethal, unplayable. But then other days, just an absolute ghost. And I could never quite put my finger on it. But people going crests and troughs of form. But his crests and troughs seem to be from one game to the next. And it's really frustrating to watch, knowing what he's capable of. Like, notably, there was a cup game we played against Newcastle in which we beat him at Hillsborough. And God, it seems like a million years ago now. He was outstanding, like genuinely outstanding. And then the game after, utter shite, just absolutely missing. And it is frustrating. Now, in terms of going to Wrexham and the focus that comes with being a Wrexham player, he's perfect, fits in really well. fits in perfect because what Josh Windas has got this endeavour to be. He wants to be one of those cryptic guys online that thinks he's got everybody on strings. Like, you know what I mean? He wants to be one of those guys that like,
Rattled.
I'm going to do a vague post here. Watch this and watch everybody go nuts. I'm hilarious, me. But he's just not clever enough to pull it off. You know what I mean? He's just not. He's still a bit of a moron because
he's one of these people who I think, like you said, there was consistency. It's kind of why he's not a Premier League player, isn't it? He's just a championship player, a decent championship player. And yeah, it is frustrating to watch every week. But I also feel that he needs a chip on his shoulder. He needs that tenacity. He needs to play those in that line between taking a risky pass that doesn't come off, that bit of sort of tenacity and bite in him. If he just feels a bit blasé and doesn't care, he'll play badly. But he almost needs that bit of bite and that chance to prove people wrong, doesn't he? So
I agree. When he's delivering a fuck you, he's absolutely outstanding. And that's what it is. When our fans started to go, bloody hell, Windas have bloody played well in 5 games, watch him the game after. Yeah. When all of a sudden the pressure builds, watch him. But just play well anyway, Josh. We don't, you know what I mean? Why have we got to motivate you? You know what I mean? So into the playoffs. Do you think you can stay up there?
It's a tough question because, like I said, it's so congested, it's so tight.
Well, I tell you why I asked, right? Because you're very well backed financially, and we've come to the end of January. However, there is, you speak to some fans, and they'll go, "What we don't want to do is sign a load of players and upset the apple cart a little bit because you don't want any more gelling period. We've had a very good January. We don't want another gelling period. Let's just go as we go." But then it's January. And now fatigue and injuries can start kicking in. And you know as well as I do, if you don't sign anybody at the end of Jan, Kiefer Moore's going to bust his knee. You know what I mean? You can see it happening, can't you? Right? So what do you? So I say, are you going to stay up there? What I mean is, are you going to get backed to stay up there?
Yeah. So I think, like we said, we've been saying this on the podcast for ages, that if you go into January maybe 6 or 7 points away from the playoffs, then you can afford to back them. And Wrexham, like we said, we've got the money to do so. I'd expect us to sign at least 2 players before deadline day. We always do our business late in the window. Every indication is we're going to get a wing back and a striker in, just because why not? As long as they're part of your long-term planning anyway, you go buy them now, because I think this is the best chance we will ever have to get to the Premier League. I look at the 3 teams who might get relegated from the Premier League, the parachute payments. I look at what happens if Southampton, Leicester sort their crap out. What if some of the teams who miss out on promotion this season, it's probably going to be a Borough, Ipswich or Cov won't go up. If one of them plays well next season, next season's going to be so much tighter, so much more competitive. I think there's a real chance for Wrexham. And again, I don't want this to come across as cocky, because Wrexham fans get called cocky. What we have is belief. And so few football fan bases have belief and genuine optimism. But we've done it 3 times in a row. And if you're telling me now that the team 6th from the table can't be dreaming of promotion, then what's the point of being a football fan? Of course we can do it. It's there. We can take it. And the other advantage I'd say is 5 teams above us in the league. 4 of them have got to come to North Wales and beat us at our own place. So there's points up there for grabs. We've already beaten Coventry at home this season. We've taken points off Ipswich, taken points off Middlesbrough. So yeah, why not? Why not Wrexham?
Yeah, I tell you what, when you look at the top of the league, right, and the teams above it, Millwall, I don't know what to expect of them. They've been heavily fancied for a couple of years and always seem to fall away. Hull City, if you've seen the meme with those Marines all queuing behind the wall and there's a clown in the middle, I don't know what Hull City are doing there. I think they're stood there going, I don't know how we got here either, but fair play to them. I think Ipswich are going to catch Middlesbrough. I think see
Coventry
that
might miss out. Genuinely.
They're having their blip right now, aren't they? I speak to a Coventry fan on Thursday, and they've only won 2 of the last 6, which isn't, you know what I mean, which isn't promotion form, as it were. Given how many goals they've scored, that would be, well, for me, it'd be fucking hilarious to see. I'd find that really funny, I must admit. But then there's also those teams.
Like I said, if Wrexham are iron 6th, whoever finishes 3rd is going to be so crestfallen in the playoffs.
Yeah,
that they'll be so gutted they've just missed out that you'd fancy yourself. Do you know what I mean? Because you can be the
We've seen it happen.
Yeah.
Seen it happen a number of times.
Sort of Sunderland last season. They weren't the favourites to go from the playoffs, but they just did it. They got in there. They beat Sheffield United. Kiefer Moore gave them an assist. Kiefer will redeem himself at Wembley, I'm sure, under the arch in May, and we'll be the ones promoted to the Premier League. Hey, why not? You got a dream, haven't you?
Written in the stars, mate. Written in the stars. Hey, listen. I wanted to mention, our thanks to the we at the start of the season, the football family were very, very good to us in terms of the applause and the things we got. And then Rob McElhenney came up with the idea of selling off your black and gold shirts, and we ended up donating 20 odd grand to our trust, which was absolutely incredible. And there is an element of, we can sit and take the piss out of Wrexham as football fans and go, look at you, you're only there because of your money, but they didn't have to share it like they did. Do you know what I mean? That was genuinely a really heartwarming thing to see in terms of football. I bought one myself. I own a Wrexham shirt for some reason, which is, going to sit in the cupboard with the rest of the shirts I bought over the last 40 years. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I needed to bring that and mention that. But I wanted to see, so coming up to Hillsborough, I get to this point and ask for a prediction a lot, and everybody's normally quite polite and they say something like 2-0, given the way, we all know where Sheffield Wednesday are. It's very well documented. But some fans get carried away. They're like, it's going to be 5-0. It never is. It's always 2-3 at a push. Do you know what I mean? What happens is we're blood, sweat and tears for an hour. And then at the hour mark, we lose 2-0. That's what happens. That's what's going on. How do you think it's going to play out?
I think it's going to be very similar to that. Like I said, watching from afar this season, Wednesday have been really spirited and really dogged and played with real pride. There has still been that element on the pitch of players giving their all. Obviously, lost their best player, an absolute legend, which is a shame. He absolutely ran the show against us, Barry Bannon, in North Wales early in the season.
Oh God,
Wednesday should have won that game. Great save from Danny Ward at the death from Charlie McNeil. And, I still don't think Wrexham are a team who go and blow teams away. Like I said, we don't get thrashed ourselves and we don't thrash teams ourselves. New Year's Day at Blackburn, we absolutely schooled them. Still only a 2-0 win. That's all we needed. And I think it'll probably be similar this weekend. I'm going 2-0-2 on Wrexham, but I think it's going to be a tough game. We'll have to earn those points. We're not just turning up expecting to beat Sheffield Wednesday, because the table, obviously tells a story in itself, but it tells a story of a club that's been mismanaged and fucked over. It doesn't say a team that doesn't care. Those players want to win and they'll go and give it a good go. But I do think just our momentum will probably find a way to make it difficult for ourselves. I think we'll win, but I don't think it's going to be easy.
I think that's a sensible way of looking at it. Rich Fay from Rob Ryan Red, thanks a lot for joining me, pal. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's always a joy to come on and speak to you.
Sometimes it is. Stay on the line. I'll see you after.
Every week, live from 8 p.m. It's the Wednesday Week. Bringing you football analysis.
They said we'll win the league next season.
Bringing you modern references.
I did a little 1920s fist pump there. Not done that in a while.
If we could do just a 1-to-1, not me because it'd last 7 days apparently, like Craig David.
I should not have said that. I should not have said that.
This shows like you're mental. No, I'm not.
Clip that.
Bringing you terrible impressions.
Wibble, wobble, wobbly, wobbly, wibble, wobble, Cyber Jordan. When, hey, you got to play a 4-4-2. She. I don't know where these jokes are coming from.
Available on all social medias.
Obviously, this goes out on YouTube and as well as all the other social media out there, podcasts, etc.
The award-winning Wednesday Week. Join us.
Put on your pod